Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first Veteran Service Dog graduation of 2025. I'm Deborah Doherty, the Executive Director of the Northeast Region, and I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone who's joined us here in the room, as well as those who have joined us on the live stream. So it takes 2 years and many hands and hearts to get a Canine Companion service dog fully prepared for today, for graduation. In addition, it also takes a lot of financial resources to get these dogs ready for their work, and we don't charge our clients for their dogs or any of the follow-up services that we provide during their working life. So today, I would like to express our gratitude to Nancy and Terry McGraw, who through the Harold W. McGraw III Foundation recognize the vital work of service dogs perform for their teammates and have generously sponsored today's teams. Without their support, and along with all of the support of our donors, we would not be able to continue our mission. We also want to express our gratitude to our volunteers, especially the puppy raisers who raise and nurture our puppies for 18 months. Congratulations to each of you and your families on crossing the finish line today and handing over the leashes of the puppies you loved and raised as they began their journey towards becoming service dogs. Thank you to all the volunteers who provided team training lunches to the students so that they could remain focused on their training and in class. And a special congratulations to the training staff, especially of this class, Kim, Eli, and special guest trainer who joined us from the Southeast region, Jessica Penrose Ross. Thank you for coming. Collectively and individually, they have exemplified the core values of the organization: compassionate service, teamwork, integrity, excellence, community, and innovation, all while leading the class through another successful team training. And thank you to all the other staff who get us to days like today, the philanthropy staff, the admin, and the kennel staff for all of their hard work. And today, we want to thank the students, our veterans, for their service to our country and for giving Canine Companions the opportunity to serve you with a tool of a warm nose to be by your side and assist you in your journey forward. There are only a few things that parallel the strength of the animal-human bond. We welcome you into a unique family, and it's an extended family that reaches across the country. Whether you choose to be a part of it or not, remarkably, it stands at the ready to be of service to you. So congratulations on your success. And now, for those of you who may not be familiar with U.S. military tradition of presentation or challenge coins, as they've become to be known, the tradition dates back nearly 200 years when challenge coins were issued supporting Andrew Jackson for president. During the Civil War, custom military coins were minted to replace U.S. currency, which was in short supply. But as legend has it, the tradition as we know it today actually began during World War I, when a fighter pilot from a wealthy background ordered small bronze medallions to be struck, which he presented to the other pilots in his squadron as mementos of their service together. The coins were gold-plated and bore the squadron's insignia. Shortly thereafter, one of the pilots in the units was shot down behind enemy lines and taken prisoner. While his captors confiscated all of his personal belongings, they failed to notice a small leather pouch containing the valuable coin. And during the night, the village he was being held in was bombed by the British, and he managed to escape. Dressed in civilian clothes, he managed to avoid German patrols and with great difficulty crept across no man's land to what he thought was safety, but it almost did not turn out that way. French patrols were on the lookout for German saboteurs dressed as civilians, and without any ID, the French soldiers immediately prepared the pilot for execution. Desperately, the pilot pulled out the coin from his leather pouch, and one of the soldiers recognized the unit insignia on the coin and confirmed the pilot's identity, and alas, his life was spared. So from that time on, it became a tradition for military units of all branches of service to carry a coin with their unit insignia at all times. So in honor of this tradition, on special occasions, such as today, Canine Companions coins are given to recognize and reward individuals, both military and civilian, for outstanding achievement and support of the brave men and women in armed service to their country. So today, each of you will be the first to receive our commemorative 50th anniversary coin. And I'm going to just ask you when I call you to come up and receive your coin. So first we have Robert from the U.S. Navy. And next we have Deborah from the U.S. Army. And the puppy raisers, Deborah and Paul Phelps, if you would join me up here. And And finally, Sharon McComb, Puppy Program Manager, who is accepting the coin on behalf of James and Jennifer Bias, who were not able to join us today. So thank you, Sharon. And now I'm going to turn the remainder of the program over to Kim.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our March 2025 graduation ceremony here at the Northeast Region Miller Family Campus. For those of you watching online and may not know, my name is Kim Doyle, and I'm a senior instructor here at this region. For the past 2 weeks, myself, with instructor Eli Gerard and Southeast Applicant Manager Jessica Penrose Ross, have had the pleasure of teaching these two individuals who will shortly be our newest graduates of Canine Companions. It has been a pleasure to watch these teams grow. Please enjoy this presentation that will introduce the teams and give you a glimpse of all they accomplished during their time here. The music played in the slideshow was written and developed by our very own new graduate, Robert Bickle.
I came back from the war, but my mind's still fighting.
So go. That's it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
The memories keep playing like a broken record.
Let's go.
But then you came along and changed.
Let's go.
Now
Let's go ahead and get ready to take it from him. Good. Thank you. There you go.
step by step.
Johnny, push. Good girl. That's a great job.
'Cause your eyes shine like the morning light. Your paw steadies me when I can't stand right. When the ghosts come back to haunt my nights, you bring me home. You bring me home. You bring me home with you. Streets filled with people I can't connect to. Invisible battles.
Get it. Oh, good girl. We're gonna rock it out now.
Very nice.
Silence. 4 paws on the ground, keeping me free. And now I'm finding my way, step by step, day by day. 'Cause your eyes shine like the morning light.
Get it.
Thanks.
Yes. Get. Get. Yes.
Bring me home. You bring me home. You bring me home with you. No medals for you, no parades in your honor. Just quiet devotion that saved my life. My service dog, my silent guardian knight. Fighting Like the morning light, your paw steadies me when I can't stand right. When the ghosts come back to haunt my nights, you bring me home, you bring me home. And I'm finally coming home with you. Yeah, I'm finally coming home with you.
And every service dog beats the heart of many who loved them. From living in sunny California at their breeder caretakers to becoming a temporary family member with their volunteer puppy raisers to professional training, these dogs have all been on an incredible journey to get to where they are today. Volunteer puppy raising can be one of the most challenging yet rewarding accomplishments. From sleepless nights to teething terrors, warm snuggles, endless kisses, and poop. So much poop. Our volunteers enter this job with open hearts and open homes to puppies that they know are destined for a greater good. And while it is difficult to hand over that leash, our puppy raisers know that a piece of them is being handed over to enhance someone's life. Thank you to all our puppy raisers for putting in such dedication to making these dogs who they are today. And now I please welcome our class speaker, Robert Bickle.
I guess it's afternoon now, and I'm going to grab this tissue box because it's time to see a grown man cry, I guess. So, as we said, my name is Commander Robert Bickle. I'm USN retired. It's common when we get together with people, they go, well, what'd you do and where'd you serve? And I'm not going to go through that in this talk, really, because one of the things I've learned over the years is that we all serve different places and we all had different experiences, but at the end of the day, we're all not that unique, actually. We have a lot of experiences that brought us to this point, and I find that it really doesn't serve anybody anything at this point to kind of go through the backgrounds, because everybody is here and now and trying to move forward. I think a lot of us struggle with what we call the war within, right? Just because you take off the uniform or you're taken out of the desert or the jungle or wherever you're serving, it doesn't mean that the things that are going on in your head stop. Actually, they keep going and you keep remembering them whether you want to or not sometimes. And I think that because a lot of us are trained in a lot of really good skills, such as camouflage, concealment, and hiding in place, especially in boot camp, we learn how to fade into the background. We get really good at that in our lives as well. So when we encounter problems or we encounter these dreams or our memories, we get really good at just hiding in place. And I would say that was me for years and years. I just figured out ways to hide in place and mask what I was really feeling. Then the realization comes that there are 18 suicide veterans a day right now. Actually, it's 17.85 as of this morning. So that means that if you look at it, just during this morning, right, we lost about 9 veterans to suicide. And one of the most important missions, I think, that the VA has in front of them, and I think organizations such as this, is to stop that. It doesn't make any sense for somebody to serve overseas or serve here, to take on the uniform and take on the risk to come home and then take their own lives. And I never really had much thoughts about that when I was young and I joined, but I had a friend, his name was Commander Decker, and one day he went to the end of the runway and he ended his life. And soon after that, we were deployed to Iraq. And for whatever reason, I was short a jacket. Somebody had lifted my jacket, which is not uncommon in the Navy. Things kind of walk off on their own. And so I needed a jacket. So I went to the parariggers and I said, it's cold and you got to give me something to wear. And the one they had was his. So my first night in combat was wearing a dead guy's jacket. So that kind of brings it home, right? Then when you get here, you keep seeing it. So my father, he's a retired police officer. One of his good friends was a Marine officer and also a combat veteran. And after he retired from the police force, one day he also took his own life. So for us in the military community, we're never that far removed from that. So dogs like this really, I think, can prevent that. And that's why I'm so blessed to have one, actually, because the reality is it's really hard to ask for help. And it's probably even harder to admit that you're part of that group, that you're actually teetering on that edge sometimes, and that the event horizon is not that far away for you. And we experience it different ways. Some days it's you just wake up and you say to yourself, why am I waking up? And other days you wander off and you ask yourself, why should I go home? So dogs bring grounding. They bring something to take care of. They bring a discipline back into your life, a tempo that you have to do, something you have to get up every day and do, and something to take care of. But at the end of the day, they also take care of you. So for me, like so many vets, the road to recovery wasn't one step. First, it was admitting that I had a problem. And if my wife was here, she's at home with our dog taking care of Murphy. So hi, dear, I hope you're listening in. I at first said, well, this is a problem for the last couple of years for me. And she would look at you and shake her head and say, no, that's not true, right? You've been having problems for a long time, and I'm glad you're finally doing something about it. So for me, the road to recovery was first saying, yeah, kind of like I have a problem. The second one is, and I know a lot of veterans complain about the VA, but I'm not one of them. My medical team out of Fort Meade, they said, hey, have you thought about a dog? And I said, well, I have a dog. You don't really have a service dog. I'm like, oh, that's good. But then I was handed over to the Cohen Clinic at Easter Seals, which is a good group out of Washington, D.C. that specializes in PTSD. And when I was with them, they said, you thought about a dog? And I was like, no, I have a dog, right? They said, well, you don't have a service dog. And so they really set me on the course of applying for a dog. And then I was handed over to another VA community care called Abrita Community Care. And the doctors there are really good and personal. And they said, you thought about a dog? And I said, yeah, I applied for one. They're like, good. So then it kind of brings the question of why Canine Companions, which is a question that I think a lot of people ask. And there are a lot of organizations to choose from. I don't think people realize if you actually Google service dogs, how many places come up, some of which I would say are completely legitimate, and some of which I'm maybe not so much. But really, when you get right down to it, there's only one Canine Companions. And most people don't realize it, and I'll tell you, I was part of that group when I applied, that Dr. Bonnie Bergen, she's really considered the founder of the modern service dog. She's the inventor of this, really. If you Google her, it'll come up as she's recognized as the mother of these programs. So they've been doing this for 50 years. They started it, and so everybody else is kind of following their lead. I think the second thing is that they haven't stopped developing service dogs since then. First day that I walked in here, there were 3 college students, 2 PhD students, and 1 undergrad student doing research on dogs. And I got to walk by every day, first couple days, and see what they were doing. They had their computer out in the hallway. And they continue to research here how to do better jobs for the dog and for the people the dogs serve. And I think that's amazing. They've continued to innovate and grow in the industry. So why Canine Companions? Well, if you really want to know, I think you could just watch Inside the Mind of the Dog on Netflix, which I watched actually about a week before I came up here, and my wife watched it with me. And it really is about this facility when you get right down to it, but also the science that's going into these dogs. And it's amazing not only what they know now, but what they didn't know 50 years ago and what they're going to know in the next few years, because I see a kind of an acceleration in knowledge happening about dogs and what they're really capable of. I think the other reason is, and I think it's a common mistake. A lot of people think that Canine Companions was founded by Charles Schulz, who's really famous for his comic strip Peanuts, and he wasn't the founder. Obviously, I said Dr. Bergen was the founder, but I do think that it's worthwhile to talk about the relationship with Dr. Bergen and Charles Schulz and Jeannie Schulz, I guess, who still serves Canine Companions. Because if you, again, hit the Google button, which just seems to be an easy way to get a lot of information these days, you'll find that Canine Companions introduced Charles Schulz to service dogs. And when he saw what they could do, he was amazed by it. And his wife was amazed by it. And she became very involved in it. Not only involved in service dogs, but she continues to be kind of the torchbearer for Charles Schulz. And a lot of people don't realize, if you actually look, and I love history, by the way, if you actually look at Charles Schulz's background, that at 19 years old, he was drafted into the U.S. Army. By the time he was 20, he was leading a 50 caliber machine gun team. And by the time he was 21, he was a staff sergeant. For those of you who don't know, that's pretty quick. To go from E1 enlisted to staff sergeant in 3 years is a pretty easy task, which meant that he was a good leader. Right? He knew even at a young age how to lead people, and it also means that for me, he was a hero, because I can reflect on it a little bit. My namesake was also in armored infantry, and he died in Anzio. And so I know the risks that Charles Schulz took. And I also know that if you look at him, that he was part of the team that liberated the people interned at Dachau. One of the sites of really horror of human history, right? So I can't imagine what he saw and what he went through at 20 years old, walking into a place like that. And he, throughout his life, made public statements that he was haunted by that experience, that he had anxieties and he had nightmares. And I'm no doctor, but he sounds just like me. Right? Sounds like he had PTSD. But the other thing about him is he continued to identify as being part of the military his entire life. And that's a certain thing about being in the military, is you continue. Once you put the uniform on, it never comes off. I took the shirt off. I'm wearing olive drab underneath this, right? It's always on you, and even the day I die, it'll still be on me. And Charles Schulz is one of those people that I find really unique in the world, and I actually have met some other people, because I had some opportunity to meet people out of Hollywood. That when he was buried, his request was to be buried as Staff Sergeant Charles Schulz. Not Charles Schulz, inventor of Peanuts, not Charles Schulz, inventor of a beloved character. Staff Sergeant Charles Schulz is what's on his tombstone. So I can really identify with him, and I also can identify how Peanuts evolved. And he always said Charlie Brown wasn't him. And he always said Snoopy was kind of like a dog that he had. But Snoopy's character developed and became kind of this, individual upon to itself. And that he said that the reason that Snoopy had all these adventures was because it was to escape the boredom of being a dog. My older sister, she was the English major, not me. So I would like to challenge Charles Schultz in his own statements, though. If you were here today, I'd say, oh, really? Because if I look at Snoopy, I see a service dog. I see somebody who's loyal, somebody that no matter how bad Charlie's days were, he was always there for him. He was caring, he was smart, he was inventive, he could do amazing things. And sure, he had adventures, but dogs have adventures. So when I look at Snoopy, I really say, maybe that was Charles Schultz's service dog. Maybe he had the one in his mind, and that's why he never had one physically. But Snoopy to me is a service dog, and I think I'll probably never be able to look at a peanut strip again without thinking, he's helping him out. He's helping Charles get through those anxieties, through those long days, those long nights, those fears that he had from just those 3 short years in the Army. So at the end of the day, kind of like the Academy Award, right? You come up here and you go, how do you thank everybody, right? You know, how do you ever thank your families? Like even my wife who's at home, keeping down the home front. Tremendous sacrifice. I know Deb's dad is waiting for her to come back, and they have a very close relationship. Tremendous sacrifice, you know, of parents. I sponsor midshipmen. One of the dads of a midshipman that I sponsored is here today, and one of the things I always tell them is that when you join the military, you drag all your friends and family into it, right? My parents would tell you, and again, I hope they're listening. I know it's early for them on the West Coast, but my parents would tell you that my first combat deployment, they didn't sleep until I got back off the C5, right? So you take everybody with you. And then when you get home, you continue to take everybody with you. So my wife is stuck with me through this journey, so I can't thank her enough. And my children, you know, they're also impacted by the military and who I am and what I chose, and me disappearing both for the military and other things. So, you know, how do you thank them for a lifetime of being there, and almost like a service dog loving me unconditionally, right? Beautiful thing about children is that they do. And I'm fortunate that both my parents are still alive, which I think is kind of funny because I'm retired now. So how do you walk into your parents' house and you, hey, guess what? You live to see your own son retire. But how do I thank them for everything they did? And you know, they made me who I am. You know, they shaped me, kind of like puppy raisers. They shaped me to the point where the military was handed off, and the military finished it, right? So I can't thank them enough. But at the end of the day, you know, how do I thank everybody here at Canine Companions? There's so many people here. I mean, especially when the staff returned from their business trip, this place is full of people all here to help us. And there's just 2 of us here right now, and it seems like the whole building is focused on getting us ready to take these dogs out the door today. So how do I thank everybody? I can't. I just have to thank some representatives, right? So, you know, the first person I met, and I'm terrible with last names, so I just go with first names here, is Jessica. She's not, I don't see her in the room, but, you know, she's the one who puts up with our applications and then put up with whatever trials and tribulations we go through as we're waiting for the dog. And trust me, I challenged her. And then you walk through the doors here and you meet Bonnie, and she's warm and welcoming, and she made me feel like home immediately. The first night, it was really just me and Bonnie here wandering around. And you know, she just takes care of you. She's just loving and open, and she's got this puppy that she's taking care of right now. So there's something that I love puppies, so there's something to play with. So, and then Eli, who's not here, is from New Hampshire, and I'm not sure where he's off to, but you know, he helped us get us started, and you know, lots of energy and excitement, and just sitting in the room listening to his stories about what he was doing with the dogs was amazing to me as well. And Jessica, who is in the room, you know, she provided that continuity throughout this thing. She kind of was the steady force, and also very interesting. I mean, how many times do you get to meet somebody who trained dolphins? That's not an everyday occurrence, so at least not in my household. And then Kim, who's been kind of doing the talking, right? She's the true professional in the group, right? She's the one who keeps us on schedule, on task, and you know, when I try to delay things or said, can we get one more Starbucks before we start class? She's like, no, you did that yesterday. We got to be back here by a certain amount of time. And as this talk is going on, you can see that I don't like time constraints. I'm a little bit like, I guess, the president. I just kind of ramble on. But then, like I said, you have everybody else here that's just focused on being here for you, for two people, this whole building, all this money. There's construction going on out back where, several $1 million are being spent to expand this facility, all focused on people like me and Deborah, sorry, I'm still struggling with your names, but Deb, all focused, like millions of dollars going into two people. Absolutely amazing. And how do I thank everybody? And I kind of think of kind of a long chain. I like to say my family's always been in the military, and it has. We've been in every major war since before there was a U.S. of A, right? All the way back to the Revolutionary War. I can tell you grandfather to grandfather to grandfather to grandfather where we served, what we did. But here, there's 50 years of volunteers. That is a pretty long line. That's a lot of volunteers, and that's a lot of hours spent, and a lot of time spent. And I'm sure it's a lot of carpets chewed and mattresses ruined, and waking up in the middle of the night because the dog's unhappy. I mean, that's just a lot of work. It's 50 years of puppy breeders figuring out how to make the perfect match, the perfect genetic match for these dogs. And I was told the other day that these dogs, their genetic development is probably one of the best in the industry, and I believe it. A lot of work has gone into breeding these dogs and getting them to be the perfect dog for us, and in this case, the perfect dog for me individually. So how do I thank 50 years of breeders? I can't. It's impossible for me. And there's 50 years of puppy raisers. Those people that, if you've ever owned a puppy, those first 10 to 12 weeks, it's worse than having a child, because I've had two children. I know what that's like. And I know what Murphy got away with, my dog, my pet dog, because of going through that with him. To do that over and over again, most of the puppy raisers are serial puppy raisers. They've done it multiple times, which means this isn't their first rodeo, but it also means that they've done this for a lot of people like me. So I think in my case, I think this is the 5th puppy. So, and it's amazing, and it's also amazing to me that they flew from Virginia to here just to see this puppy go home with me today. Absolutely amazing. So they're, to me, they're the really true heroes, right? They bring the dog up to the point where it comes back here for its professional training, and they, like a child, those are the critical years of development that make the dog who the dog is. So I think that if you like puppies, volunteer to be a puppy raiser, because you can get lots of puppies, and you can do a real good service for it. And of course, 50 years of trainers, and 50 years of staff, and 50 years of people struggling to make the ends meet, 50 years of trying to get the last pennies together to, put the building together. 50 years of donors, that have donated on countless amounts of money to make this program what it is today. It's actually amazing. So how do I thank 50 years of people who are willing to give up money and time to make this happen? I can't. And one of the things about being the title of commander is that once upon a time I could give out medals. Right? That's once upon a time. I can't do that anymore, but if I could, I would. I'd give out 50 years of distinguished service medals, which is, if you don't know, that's the highest military medal you can get for non-combat. Right? If I could pin one on 50 years of people who have made this come down to one dog, and one dog over here, I guess 2 dogs total in this classroom, I would. I can't, so you just have to take a virtual one. So you can go down to local uniform shop and pick one up and say, Commander Bickle said this was for me. The Department of Defense won't be happy, but I'll talk to Elon. I'm sure he'll get over it. As long as you paid for it, he's going to get too upset. So all of you are warriors in my mind. You've all joined the fight to keep us in this place, which is really the hardest fight. So you're all part of the military family. Military is a family, and this place is a family. So these two families are merging. So thank you for welcoming me into your family, but also welcome to my family. If nobody's from the military said that to you, welcome to my family. Because as proud as I think my parents are of raising me, I'm also very proud of the men who raised me in the military. One of the advantages of being in a special warfare unit is that you're very close to people. And when I received my commission, the commanding officer who pinned it on me, he started crying, kind of like I am today, and said, this is like commissioning my own son. That's how the military is, and that's how this place is. You're the son, brother, father, the minute you walk through this door. And obviously with the puppy raisers, they're attached to their dogs. Again, to fly all the way from Virginia to just see this dog, they love that dog. So I'm surprised that they're going to give it to me here in a minute, because they spent a lot of time. So I guess I have to summarize this, otherwise I'll be up here all day and people will get kind of bored of hearing me talk. But I want to thank you all for helping change my life. I really am humbled. I don't like asking for help. So the fact that you're going to give it to me without me really asking a lot, I really appreciate. They asked me, what did I want from the dog? And I said, I want to be me again. So thank you for letting me be me again. I'm not sure my wife is ready for me to be me again, but we'll grow together. We've been together over 30 years. I'm sure we can work through this one as well. Thank you for helping me get grounded, because that's one of the things that a dog does, is it helps you stay grounded. Thank you for not letting me join the 18 that by the time I go to bed today will have left us. And thank you for trying to reach out to all of those to make sure that nobody else makes that final tour, that bad choice to go over that event horizon from which there's no return. So I think to kind of end this, I think you all need to understand the war inside of us never really ends. But the dog can calm that. The dog can make those battles seem a little less real and distract us long enough so we don't think about them. So, as an officer, I was always told I had to put my people first. And actually, the first time I got command was because the guy that was commanding us wasn't putting his people first. We were out in the field, and we were going through an army field kitchen, which is the most horrible food. All the food's marked for prison use. But we were getting food, and his boss saw him go through the food line first. And he saw me walking up and down the line checking on the troops. So the next day, he was no longer the commanding officer, and I was. So I really have to thank you for putting everybody else that came here before me first. Thank you for taking care of the soldiers, the sailors, the Marines, the airmen. And I'm still getting used to the idea of these guardians, but the guardians as well, which will be, unfortunately, someday blessing your facility as well. Thank you for taking me into your care. And for my midshipmen sons and daughters that I've adopted, including the one father here whose son's off to flight school in Pensacola, thank you for taking care of them in the future, because I think they'll need it as well, unfortunately. And thank you for taking care of my son. It's hard for me to think of him coming here, but it's not that hard. So he's off at combat training in the Army right now, and he thinks it's a lot of fun. And it is fun at first, but I know someday he's going to need you as well. So thank you for being there for him. Just thank you, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Robert. Now I would like to invite up Jessica Penrose Ross to help hand out certificates. And it is with my pleasure and no further ado to present your graduating teams today. All right, so first, a quiet soul and a calm demeanor. Deb has come out of her shell over the past 2 weeks, and we have enjoyed getting to know her. She has come to Canine Companions looking for a furry friend to retrieve items from a distance and provide comfort when nightmares woke her. Marquez perfectly fits the bill. Another quiet soul with a super affectionate, snuggly personality. They are excited to begin their adventure together, and we can't wait to see how far they'll go. Deborah, can you come on up? Deborah is graduating today with service dog Marquez the First. Marquez was raised by James and Jennifer Baez from Manchester, Connecticut. Marquez is their 9th puppy they've raised. Since they are unable to be here today, here to present Marquez is one of his trainers, Robin Liberty. Robert came to Canine Companions looking for a buddy to help him stay grounded, as he explained to us, and create space for him in public. Enter Jonquil, a playful girl with a willing attitude and a zest for training. He's already taught her how to give him a kiss on command. She's a sweetheart who loves Robert's willingness to get silly with her. Together, they plan to take on both work and play, enjoying hikes and even distance running. We know this team is ready to take on the world. Robert is graduating today with service dog Jonquil the Fourth. Jonquil is the 5th puppy they've raised. Here to present Jonquil is Debbie and Paul Phelps. Thank you very much for your service. Congratulations. Let's give a round of applause for our graduates. That concludes our March 2025 graduation. Enjoy a wonderful weekend and release.